But let's refresh our memory, because in studio with me is former Kamkunji MP, Member of Parliament, Nyaga himself. Let's refresh our memories.
So I was screaming and I went outside of the house to the neighborhood and I started screaming and I was just saying, my dad has been shot, my dad has been shot, help, my dad has been shot.
The Mbais resided at the Adams Arcade estate and occupied house number 6. Their neighbor was a then Member of Parliament for Kamkunji, Nyaga. The exclusive expose, the Standard newspapers published details of a confession of 3 suspects arrested on suspicion that they took part in the murder of the lecturer.
There was a new twist, that there was a split within the team which had been charged with investigating that murder, which sort of raised my curiosity. There was information filtering through that there was a cover-up, that some people wanted a certain line pursued as opposed to what had come through the investigations from the suspects they had interrogated.
The breaking of the story in the media was followed by sensational claims on the floor of Parliament that a Member of Parliament was linked to the murder.
Akujia mwangalie watu, akauliza kama sisi ndio sukari, pala tukamwambia ndio. Sasa akatuelezea kuna mtu na sukari ndiye anamjua mbwa kiaje, akikumuuliza kile tuambie sukari anajua ndani yote, na sukari anajua ndani yote. Tukaongea.
The cassette talks about a murder case that was planned and that Nyaga gave a gun and 50,000 shillings to somebody, 3 people who sat in a car that I was in Kawangware on Saturday the 13th at 10 o'clock at night. That is what the cassette says.
Collins Kilel told the court that on the material day, Dr Mbai was killed. He had left for Adams Arcade Shopping Center to buy eggs. When heading back to the estate, Collins claims he noticed Nyaga's vehicle leaving the estate in high speed.
All right, welcome back, and allow me to introduce the former Kamkunji Member of Parliament, Nyaga. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much indeed, James.
Good to see you after a long time in rather unfortunate circumstances.
Great, thanks. Good. It's good that I have got this opportunity to be once again after many years to express what I know about this very unfortunate situation that happened many years ago.
So let's start from the top. What do you know about the killing of Crispin Mbai?
The biggest crime that I did was to actually enter Crispin Mbai's home after the shooting, after a distress call by his daughter, the one you've just seen on television, and taking him to the hospital. That is my linkage. And I've said before, Kenyans must not give up to take people to hospitals once they're in danger because of incrimination of what they do. And let me put it this way. Isaiah 54 verse 17 says that there is enough weapon that will be planted against you that shall prosper, and that every tongue that confesses a judgment against you shall be condemned. This is precisely what is going to happen to anybody who still has the notion that can incriminate innocent people. It's very unfortunate. It's painful. We have families, we have friends, we have businesses, and yet this case, after investigations, they got suspects, they took them to court, a judgment was reached. I find we are back to square one, where incrimination once again is being done. Extremely unfortunate.
Unfortunate, but just coming back to that square one and trying to understand from what happened. Individuals walked into Odhiambo's Crispin's house, shot him at point blank. No one saw them. He was your neighbor. You came in and you took him to the hospital. These individuals later claimed that you paid them 50,000 and they used your gun. Why would they do that?
Two things to think about. One, my gun was impounded by the police. Investigations on ballistic issues were done, and it was found not to have been used. Secondly, you remember the issue of the cassette. A gang of policemen sat together, organized witnesses, and coached them in what to say. Two of those people that were coached what to say were people that worked for me before. And after thrashing in Parklands by the dreaded team, they finally came back to me in Parliament and said what they had been made to do. I made sure that they went before a lawyer, did an affidavit on what they had been forced to do. One of the girls that was my house help at one point, many months or many years before then, had bottles put in her private part by the police in that interrogation. That is how they said. Then the other thing is, the day that they claimed the gun was handed over in Kawangware by a mine inspector course in a leather jacket, I was with Makwere in Mombasa. I had led a delegation on the 13th of nearly 30 members of parliament. I was the most senior then, so I spoke last in Kwale. We came to the hotel where we were staying. 3 alibis that I produced to them. One, to prove that I was not in Nairobi on the material day as to what the policemen were forcing the witnesses to say were the 3, the following. 1, that I had booked a wake-up call at 6 o'clock for me to come back to Nairobi on a Sunday, that I had hired a safe in that hotel to put in my money into it, and thirdly, anybody who had lunch, dinner with me the previous night, I had not paid for it in cash. It was all paid for that morning, and I produced those as alibi. And even more importantly, the Sunday when I was leaving Mombasa to come back to Nairobi, I had breakfast with the late Nyaga, with the police commissioner, and Professor Nick Wanjohi, as the president was going on a tour in North Coast. That beat the argument by the police.
I must ask you this as we try to walk down that memory lane and fill all the gaps.
Yes.
Why would anyone want to frame you on the death of your neighbor and then the chairman of the devolution committee in Bomas? Why would anyone want to frame you?
Very simple. I was a victim of circumstances. It's most unfortunate that when I came from Mombasa, I actually walked into my house, and the shooting took place when I was in my house, and I went to the aid of Dr Mbai to take him to the hospital. To me, when I took him to the hospital, I even guaranteed payment for his operation, because Professor Nyawade and some other lady who had come in from the University of Nairobi, having been called by the daughter, who was with me all throughout as we traveled, and we put Mbai into the car, had called them to come. And I complained to the Minister for Health to the effect that Nairobi Hospital should not be putting up conditions for people under circumstances like what Dr Mbai was going through, of payment being paid first. Now, when we got out, my former classmate, Shabir Shakir, told me that the man that had been shot was Dr Mbai, who was the chairman of the devolution committee. And I can tell it to you, I had never been to Dr Mbai's house. I had never seen him at close quarters. My closest I ever got to see him was on that day that he was shot. So very simply, as you remember, as I walked in here, you said, the most powerful man on land. I was very close to the president. You remember the politics of the day at the time. I say again, I became victim of circumstances, not touching on me, but trying to go to the leadership. To me, was so political. And I believe if there was no interference at that point in time from the advice that I was given by the lawyers, maybe the culprit may have been found if it was not made political.
Speaking about interference, and part of the reasons that the police give to that investigation, or a Bosch investigation as they claim, is that Mr. Mbai's house was washed, it was cleaned, and it was claimed that you ordered that that house be cleaned up just before the police arrived. Why
You
would
can't
do that?
give an order. You can only either request. It's not your house, you don't give an order. In fact, the person that washed the house was none other than a relative of Dr. Mbai himself that was living with them as I was sitting in Nairobi Hospital. So to me, it's whitewash. They were looking for areas to clean, to try and frame.
So would we ever know who killed Crispin Mbai?
I wish one day, if proper investigations are done, and I've said the following, if indeed the government, which has got a very long arm, is interested in finding out those people that killed Dr. Mbai, they can rearrest them. Never mind that a judgment was reached in court. One fellow went away into Tanzania. I am sure the other Kenyans that were charged are still in Kenya. And they should be able to account for whatever role they may have played. But as far as I'm concerned, it was extremely unfortunate. My alibi stood for me. Look at the accusations that came through into Parliament. I told the late Dr. Owidi, who claimed that I'd been involved in this heinous murder, that if he dared repeat the same words outside the protection of the main chamber, I would sue him to the last coin. He never did. Nobody did. Nobody wanted to do it because they were grouping in the dark. They did not know what role anybody may have played. The fact that he was my neighbor, the fact that he was shot when I was there, I was duty bound to take action. But let me tell you, TJRC had a duty to do their mandate well. I've read 3 allegations that have been raised by none other than the chairman of TJRC himself. One, that he fears the report may be rejected. 2, a lot of copy-pasting of the report was done from past commissions of inquiry. And lastly, that the commissioners were not involved in the drafting of the report and it was handled by technocrats. They take full responsibility. When they mention your name, they must squarely face the music. I have given them 7 days today in which to respond to my request. Either way, expunge that report that touches on me, or within 7 days, you'll be hearing a court process going on. There has been some argument that you cannot sue a commission because within 3 months of handing over the report to the president, that it will be wound up. Never mind, I will sue them jointly and severally. Every commissioner that sat there. You cannot wish away and take away my rights as enshrined in the Constitution by an act of Parliament. The Constitution is much more superior. And thirdly, once this commission is dissolved, there will be an implementation committee. They will take over the omissions and the commissions of this committee. I will handle them. I must get out of this dark shadow that seems to have been cast all the way. And I thank my very good friend upstairs, my maker, that he has given this opportunity so that this can be cleared once and for all.
You're here tonight, and as you go out and try to exonerate yourself and get out of this dark shadow, as it were, the friends, possibly family of Crispin Mbai are watching, and they would want me to ask you a straight question. Did you kill? Were you involved? Did you know in planning of the death or the killing of Crispin Mbai? Do you know anything?
The answer is categorical, no. We've done statements before. Credible investigators were involved in all this. Ballistic things were taken. They interviewed people. And finally, if I was involved in a very credible government, I would have been taken to court and charged. I wasn't charged, but I was taken in as a witness to give an account of what I saw.
And that account, on this, as Troy walking down into this memory lane, if you like, the daughter in that interview that was shot by case files, Dennis Onsarigo, the daughter says that Crispin Odhiambo Mbai, in his last words, he was asking, why is anyone killing Crispin Mbai? Why would anyone want to kill Crispin Odhiambo Mbai?
True. As we traveled with a young lady who was just seen on television, she sat with me at the front. Two men who were collected from Ngong Road to come and assist lift Dr. Mbai into my car sat beside him at the back of my Range Rover. And he kept on uttering something in Kijaluo. And I asked the young lady what the old man was saying. And she kept on he kept on repeating the same words. And what she told me was, the father was saying, why would anybody want to kill son of Mbai? That is what he muttered all along until we got to the hospital. No other thing that he said other than the same words were being repeated all the times. And because the girl was in panic, any call that she was trying to make, I would actually help her out by speaking to those people and telling them that we were taking Dr. Mbai to the hospital. Let me even go beyond there. As Dr. Mbai was in theater, I suggested to the wife, who I actually picked from home to bring her to the hospital and told her the events of what had happened. I requested her to give me one of her relatives so that we could go to Lenana school and pick up her son, so that the son does not see at the 9 o'clock news that the father had been shot. I saw the headmaster along with his relative of Mrs. Mbai. We came along with that person and I handed the son to Dr. Mbai. After the delegation that had gathered after a press conference, which was also attended by a writer, which claimed that was political assassination, we all retreated home. I repeated the same story of where I had found him and so on. Finally, they all went home. It was upon Norman Nyaga until 4 in the morning to feed those people that were there. I made frantic trips into Nairobi town to buy food for those people that were there.
Is it a case of the innocent Good Samaritan being implicated?
You could be more right than what you've just said.
But why?
I am a God-fearing man. Why do I need to kill anybody? What is a man I did not even know? Why would I want to harm him? Ask yourself that question.
Does it haunt you that you are the only name that is being implicated as powerful individuals, as anyone who could plan the killing of Crispin Mbai?
James, let me tell you, you've never been in the game of politics. It is a dirty game. If you join politics, you must have thick skin. I have that thick skin. Don't forget I come from a family of politicians. I would expect anything to happen. Let me remember the words of a man called late Jeremiah Nyaga, my father. He would tell me, do not be too close to a president. You will feel the heat. And yet don't be too far away from the president. You will freeze to death. I became too close to the president. I took a very powerful mantle position as the chief government whip, and that did me.
So
but you know, I really don't care what people who want to think in one direction will continue to think. It will not change me as a person. Only one man that knows the truth, him and this one. Just like what Betta said, only two people, God and myself, know what was involved in what happened. And I'm sure wherever God is, because he's everywhere in this world, he is a very grateful man to me that I tried to save a life of a dear Kenyan. But in so doing, let me give a classic example. One day, soon after that, my wife in Ridgeways finds an accident, and there was this person that was very badly injured. She stopped. She was carrying a friend of ours, a lady. And they came out, and my wife said, no way, I'm going to get myself involved. This is another case of Mbai. My appeal to Kenyans, if you find anybody has been shot, involved in an accident, never mind what the police are going to do or what people are going to say. It is your duty as a Kenyan to give help. That is what the Boy Scouting says. And if you look at that, I'm a Boy Scout.
All right. Given an opportunity, given a chance, if it were to happen again, if you were to walk back to that time, would you do the same? Would you act the same way?
I would not think twice. As a God-fearing man, I would help anybody in danger. Tomorrow is you. Today is you. Tomorrow may be me. And that is my appeal to Kenyans who run away from scenes of accident because they are going to be made to record statements. It has not changed me. I helped Mbai, and I'm proud that I actually took a soul into hospital trying to save him. And he died on that table, contrary to very few clique of people. Some of those that were involved in saying I was involved are dead. One of them is Nyaga himself. He is a very powerful man. Do not implicate others on things that they have not done if you are not sure.
Do you stay in touch?
May God rest in his soul in peace.
Do you stay in touch with the Mbai family?
For a year after my house was complete, I did not move out. And I refused to deliberately move out to a house I was paying rent because I didn't want anybody to think I was running away from a responsibility that I was involved in. I continued to pay rent for another 1 year, yet my house was sober. Finally, after that, I moved out. When we went to court, the Mbai family, they would never ever talk to me because the politics at the time had been so much polarized by our own people. But I'm sure deep down themselves, if you ask them, they would know I was not involved in this matter. Absolutely. How does a man give his gun when he's sitting in Mombasa on the night when the gun supposedly was given, according to the police report that was done? In fact, there is nothing as good as being a strong Christian. A friend of mine called Lee Kanyari was in Uganda. He called me and told me, let me not mention the personality of this person who was working with the media and is still working with the media, had given this thing to be dubbed. And the person who was given the material to dub called my friend Lee Kanyari and told me. I then called Brigadier Boyneta, who then was still in charge of national intelligence, and raided the offices in Continental House where prominent personalities today in government, one senator, one very big man, were watching it. God loves me. It is not by accident that God did all that if he did not love me. I have a purpose to live, to help many others.
Just like yourself and the Mbai family, that question of who killed Crispin Mbai, do you think we'll ever know that?
You know, we have a very strong government. It's got a very long arm. I am sure if it does its investigations right, they may be able to come out with something. This group has said, in respect to Mbai assassination, the commission recommends that an investigation include an investigation on Norman, Munene, Gadakari, Kengangi, Nyaga. Report should be made public in 18 months. Let them go ahead and do it. I would do it, but that notwithstanding, I'm still going to sue them. Because to the eyes of Kenyans, they are making me look like a murderer, like a criminal. I'm a businessman. How are people going to look at me when this thing is still hanging? And that is why God has given me the strength to be able to fight. But more importantly, I thank you and KTN, which was running case files, that has had the opportunity to invite me to come and give this view. I have left a few details that I would like to leave because my legal fraternity will take it over from there in 7 days.
My final question for you. This is something that is going to continue for a while. It's a legal process, a legal procedure. And I asked you this question, if you talk to the Mbai family, because it appears fate has synced your destiny with theirs. Do you think you'll ever talk to them? Do you think they believe you? Do you think they believe your side of the story?
They should kneel down and pray to the Maker. Please reveal to us what happened to our father, what happened to our dear husband. I have nothing against them because they had nothing against me. I was not involved in the death of Mbai, and therefore I know nothing. My prayer today, as I speak to you, I hope the guilty ones will not go scot-free.
Was it political assassination?
I do not know. I do not know. The lady who is being touted to become the Deputy Chief Justice, Rawal, Kapara, I think.
Kalpana
Rawal.
Yes.
That is the one that listened to this case all throughout. I was a witness in a court where I was being asked questions by her. A judgment was reached. Maybe TJRC and along with Chief Justice, along with the DPP, they should get back to those records and see if anything went wrong, so that justice can be seen to be done.
Your final thoughts?
My final thoughts? May God keep his soul in eternity. May God heal the souls of that family. May God also touch my family that is disturbed greatly by this implication all the times. My mother, she's going to be with the Maker. She had a very, very rough time, thinking that something was going to happen to me. And obviously nobody knows you better than your mother. And as I said this afternoon in a press conference in my office, I have slaughtered many chickens in the past and goats. Today, I cannot pick up a knife to slaughter a chicken or a goat for certain beliefs and faith. God rest their soul in peace that have gone before us.
Norman Njaga, the most powerful man.
Thank you, sir. Used to be.
Used to be.
More. I am a commoner, an old man sitting up country.
You should get back to politics, though.
Not again.
Not again.
Thank you, sir.
You've done a bit. Thank you very much. And thank you for making time to talk to KTN.
Thank you, sir.
All right. That was Norman Njaga, former MP, Kamkunji, Member of Parliament, and Chief Whip. As he said, that's his side of the story, and he's going to take this up. We'll definitely keep at this and look at this developing story. That has been KTN Livewire. My name is James Smart. Sleep well. We'll do this all over again next week.